Greetings, students and viewers out there. I am Mr. Francis of Redeemer International Schools. Today we continue our series biology. Last time we reviewed the excretory system, and we continue today on the digestive system, which we did last time. So we are talking about digestive system. What is digestion? Digestion is defined as the breakdown or the process of breaking down complex organic food substances into simple absorbable form by enzymatic action. The process of digestion begins from ingestion. So what is ingestion? Ingestion is the taking in of food, and then we have digestion, then we have ingestion, which is the removal of the undigested food from the body. Digestion takes place in the alimentary canal of man, that is the digestive system, and it begins from the mouth. The digestive system or the alimentary canal begins from the mouth, and the mouth here contains the teeth. So we have the mouth here, and then we have the various, let's take the teeth. That is there are two there. And then inside the mouth we have the tongue, and then we have associated with the mouth also we have the salivary gland. This is the salivary gland. Salivary gland. So you see, from there, when we take in the food into the mouth, the teeth, the incisors are used to cut the food into pieces, and then if it was meat, the canines are used to tear the meat, and then the premolars and the molars are used to grind the food and chew it, and then the food mixes with the saliva from the salivary gland, and the tongue helps to help in swallowing, also makes the food to be formed into a sort of bolus, and help in the mixing of the food with the saliva. And digestion begins from the mouth. The saliva here, the saliva contains an enzyme which is known as ptyalin. Say ptyalin. Ptyalin. Another name for ptyalin is salivary amylase. Salivary amylase acts on starch. Salivary amylase acts on starch like carbohydrates, changing it into maltose. So if you ate any carbohydrate food this morning, like gari, rice, and so on, what is happening is that as you were chewing the rice in your mouth, the ptyalin in the saliva mixes with it and acts on the starch and change it into maltose, and that begins the digestion of starch or carbohydrate in the mouth. There is no digestion of protein in the mouth because there is no enzyme in the mouth that acts on proteins and also fats and oils. And then saliva is slightly alkaline, and that is the medium that ptyalin or salivary amylase can act on. and can act with them. And then the food, after mixing with the saliva, the food is swallowed through the gullet. Another name for gullet here is oesophagus. The food is now swallowed through the oesophagus by a peristaltic movement, and from there it leads into the stomach. The stomach here is a sac-like organ which receives the food and stores the food for some time, maybe about 4 hours. And the stomach here has some glands, and this is known as the gastric gland. And this gastric gland here secretes what is known as the gastric juice. And the gastric juice contains hydrochloric acid, HCl. Hydrochloric acid here stops the action of the alkaline that came in with the food, so that it now produces an acidic medium whereby the enzyme in the stomach can act on, because the enzymes act within acidic medium. And so the enzyme, the gastric juice here, contains 2 enzymes, pepsin and renin. Pepsin and renin are protein enzymes. Pepsin here acts on proteins like meat, like egg, beans, and change into peptones. Whilst renin here acts on milk protein. It curdles milk. So we see now that at this level, protein digestion has started by the action of pepsin on the protein food that you took, like meat, beans, egg, and so on. It changes the protein into peptones. And then there's a muscular action here within the stomach, and that muscular action is known as churning. The food is churned in the stomach. Within the 4 hours, there is that churning of the food in the stomach, and the food changes into what is known as chyme. And after some time, the food now passes from the stomach into the small intestine. The small intestine is a coiled tube, and the first part of the small intestine here, which is U-shaped, is known as the duodenum. And inside this U-shaped structure is a leaf-like structure, and this leaf-like structure is known as the pancreas. And associated with it is a very large organ here, which is known as the liver. And the liver secretes a substance which is greenish in color, and this substance is known as bile, and the bile is produced in the liver, and it is stored in the gallbladder and could be released from time to time through the bile duct into the duodenum and then into the pancreas. So let's continue, the pancreas here has some glands, and these glands known as the pancreatic glands, and then the pancreatic glands here secretes what is known as the pancreatic juice. The pancreatic juice is very important, and it's alkaline. The medium is alkaline, and the pancreatic juice contains three major enzymes. One is pancreatic amylase. The other one is trypsin, and the other one is lipase. These three enzymes are very important. The pancreatic amylase here acts on starch, because take note, not all the starch that you took in, not the digestion did not complete there, because not all the starch was broken down into maltose. So there was still some raw starch that came in from the mouth into the stomach and then passed to the duodenum, and here the pancreatic amylase acts on that starch, changing it into maltose. And take note, all the amylases, whether salivary amylase or pancreatic amylase, acts on starch, changing it into maltose. And then we have the trypsin here. It's a protein enzyme. The trypsin here acts on some of the proteins as well as the peptones, and changes the proteins and peptones into polypeptides. And then you see that at this point, the protein is further broken down into polypeptides. Lipase here acts on fats and oils. And what happens is, before lipase acts on fats and oils, these fats and oils must be broken down, and the liver here, the liver now releases the bile. The bile is a greenish liquid, and this greenish liquid bile travels through the bile duct and enters the small intestine through the duodenum into the pancreas. And then you see that the lipase here acts on what we call emulsified fat. That is, the bile breaks down the fats into tiny droplets, and that process whereby fats, solid fats, are broken down into tiny droplets to create a wider surface area for the enzyme lipase to act on is known as emulsification. And so we said that lipase acts on emulsified fat. That is the fat that have been broken down into tiny droplets to form what is known as fatty acids and glycerol. That ends fat digestion. That is the digestion of fats. Then what happens is the food now continues to travel along the small intestine, and at the later part of the small intestine, this small intestine secretes what is known as intestinal juice. Intestinal juice is known as succus entericus. And this succus entericus contains so many enzymes, but for this lesson, let us emphasize on three major enzymes. We have, the succus entericus contains the enzymes epsin, maltase, and lipase. Epsin here is a protein enzyme, and it acts on the polypeptides, converting it into amino acids, which is the end product of protein digestion. The maltase here acts on maltose, converting it into glucose, which is the end product of carbohydrate or starch digestion. And the lipase here acts on some of the emulsified parts that the digestion was not complete at the intestinal level, at the duodenum level, and then it converts the lipase acts on emulsified parts to change it into fatty acids and glycerol, which is the end product of fat digestion. And then you see at the end you have this large intestine here, and then the large intestine, you see the undigested food now gets into that large intestine and is removed through the anus here. So at that level, we've come to the end product of digestion. The end product of digestion, for protein it is amino acids, and for carbohydrate it is glucose, and for fat and oil, fatty acids and glycerol. And at this point, as the food now continues to pass along the later part of the small intestine, which is the ileum, absorption of food takes place. And then the food is absorbed and then assimilated by the body. That is the process of digestion. We come to the end of the lesson on digestion of food. Take down this assignment. Describe briefly the role of the pancreatic juice, or the role of the pancreas in the digestion of food. Submit that to the website of the school. Thank you very much.